Welcome back to the Deep Dig of Sports Pod. I'm your host, Drew. My other host right here next to me.
What's up? It's D. Good to see you again. This week, we have a whole bunch. Christmas was ruined by the Ravens. 49ers go down. Brock Purdy didn't look good. Also, we're talking about the Russell Wilson situation. He's benched by the Broncos. A whole bunch of drama has ensued with that. Before we dig into anything, be sure to hit that like button. Be sure to subscribe. The channel is growing, and we are actually all on. We're on all streaming platforms as well. So take us on the go. Take us on your the podcast. Take us on Spotify. All that good stuff. And then be sure to drop some comments below. Let us know your thoughts.
Yeah, and as we start to come to the end of the regular season for the NFL, you'd think a lot of these stories are kind of wrapping up, a lot of things taking shape. But this is a weird year for the NFL where a lot of teams are still in it. I feel like more questions have been raised than answers given. And we're going to talk about the Jags later in that situation, the Chiefs. We're going to get into a couple of these weird storylines, but we want to start with the 49ers. We were at the game. We watched all the way till the end, that tragic story on Christmas Day. And Brock struggled. The team struggled offensively. I thought the defense played well for what the offense put them through. But what was your overall take from this game? Does it kind of tarnish Brock's MVP caliber season, or we think we can move past it?
I seen Eric Crocker tweet out like, hey, if you still believe in Brock is going to get the MVP, now is a great time because his odds went from, I think, minus 250 to plus 800. So incredible value. I seen that guy had sold his ticket. Did you see that? For $100,000. He put $1,000 in, I think, preseason for Brock to be MVP. He sold it for $100,000. If he won, it would have paid out $300K. So
he might as well ride it.
No, he sold it already.
Oh, okay.
He sold it for $100K.
Oh, yeah.
Dude, he cashed out. They were like, this is the ultimate finesse. But yeah, I think this does hurt the MVP chances. Obviously, I think now, as the NFL, what do you do? Who's the MVP? Like, that's the big thing. Like, okay, well, who takes over that mantle? I don't think you give it to Brock because you look at it, the other teammates were vouching for Christian McCaffrey. Christian McCaffrey did still have a good game. Lamar Jackson beat you in a head-to-head. He was number 2 in the odds. I'm sure he's number 1 now. He just doesn't have the numbers for me, so it's like
Lamar has 3,300 passing yards, 19 touchdowns, 7 picks. He does have 786 rushing yards and 5 touchdowns, but that's still not a lot of touchdowns when you put the passing stats, which is like the main thing for the MVP race. And Mahomes just, he lost. So, like, no quarterback is really reaching out and grabbing it other than Brock. And so do we actually turn to CMC for the MVP?
I don't know. I think Lamar's going to end up getting it. This is a quarterback-driven award. So I think Lamar is going to get it.
I disagree. I think the Niners are going to go on and win these next 2 games pretty easily. And even if they're not flashy, they just need to win. And I think the narrative will kind of die off from this game, and Brock will win MVP.
It was pretty bad, though. 4 picks. Like, you weren't moving the ball at all, really. Sam Darnold comes in and looks good. Gets the ball
for a while.
Gets the ball moving down the field. Then it was some questionable calls by Kyle Shanahan. Really, the whole game was kind of a question mark. Like, what the fuck are we doing here?
I mean, the thing is, the 49ers started off really well to this game. They got 2 3-and-outs. They looked amazing. Brock comes in, like, 3 plays, gets them down to the goal line.
Throws a pick.
And then
throws a bad
why
pick.
are we calling a strike to the end zone? Well, we have Christian McCaffrey. Like, we don't need it all in one play, but I feel like Kyle got a little greedy there and was like, yeah, let's score right now in 4 plays. But we could have just handed off and, like, kept going, threw a couple of dinks and dunks and got in the end zone. And then I'd say 2 of those interceptions are really, really on Brock Purdy. The other 2, I think, are questionable. One of them, he's getting hit. The offensive line played terrible. It gets popped up. The other one, I hate the play call. Really quick screen, and he throws it directly to a defender. And it wasn't even like a traditional screen. It was just like a, hey, wide receiver, turn around. So Brock didn't really have time to register that the guy was there. So I don't know. I didn't like the play call from Kyle a lot in this game. I feel like we're getting too cute with it. really trying to push it when we have CMC. Like, why are we not just running the ball? Kyle is running nonstop with CMC all year, and then we're struggling to get offense going, and this is where he decides, no, let's throw it every down.
So I disagree with you on that. I think Brock looked like shit, just straight out. He just looked like shit.
We had more yards than the Ravens in every category. He pushed the ball.
He looked like shit. Those picks looked bad, but it's okay. Like, you can have bad games. Like, Jalen Hurts has looked like shit 75% of the season.
He looked terrible against the Giants.
So it's like you can be an NFL quarterback and have bad games. It's all right. Josh Allen, it has the most turnovers, like, by far. Like, so you can have, like, bad games where you gotta pull something together. Like, you gotta have some shining light. And it just didn't happen this game. Like, hey, it is what it is. Sometimes, like, it's just like a pitcher's mentality. Hey, you don't got it today. Just go ahead and sit down, buddy. And so they put in Sam Darnold. Sammy D looked good at certain points. He just doesn't have any fucking pocket awareness. Like, he just stands in the pocket. He's a statue. He just doesn't have, like, he just didn't have any red flags going off.
First of all, another terrible play call by Kyle Shanahan. We're at the 1 yard line.
And instead of running the ball
3 times just to get in the end zone, you're going to call a stupid pass play, and then Sam Darnold has no presence, no awareness to throw it in the back of the end zone, just takes a long sack. I think Kyle just laid a fucking egg in this game. He got coach circled around by Harbaugh.
I mean, they got punched in the mouth. I mean, give credit where credit is due. The Baltimore defense looked awesome. Jadeveon Clowney just looked disruptive. The linebackers were flying all over the place. Marlon Humphrey looked good. Kyle Hamilton, after being banged up, still got 2 interceptions. So it is what it is. Give credit where credit is due. They looked good. And if you're the 49ers and you're looking at that matchup again, you're like, well, what do we do? How do we fix this?
If you just don't turn the ball over, you win that game handedly, I think. Because they drove the ball very easily. The defense for the 49ers played actually really well, but they got – how many times are they going to get started in the red zone? And then that's what kind of put them in a bad spot already, and then you're out on the field for almost the whole game. Mm-hmm. So, of course, they're tired. But I thought the defense played great for what the offense put them through.
Yeah, I mean, again, so just kind of put a bow on the whole Brock Purdy thing. I think Brock Purdy is not going to end up getting the MVP, but I think he's still a very capable quarterback. He's still the 49ers guy moving forward. I think that, hey, he looked like a guy it was his first full year starting in the NFL. You have bad games. You just got to take it and run with it. Imagine where he's going to be in 3 years if he continues his development. So that's the thing, like, you got to look at. You're going to take bumps and bruises. Like, people were ready to do that for Trey Lance. Why can't we give that type of cushion for Brock Purdy? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and another thing that came out of this game, a lot of injuries. Jair Brown, knee sprain. Aaron Banks hurt his toe. Eric Armstead hurt. Jawan Jennings is still in concussion protocol. Jalen Moore's hurt. Who else? Deebo Samuel, Hargrave, Trent Williams, Ambry Thomas, Oren Burks, all
banged up.
Limited participants this week. So we're lucky we're playing one of the worst teams in the league.
Yeah.
Because we can rest a lot of these guys, and we should win and just continue to try to lock up that 1 seed. But I guess moving forward, talking about that matchup with the Commanders, Sam Howell finally gets benched. I don't think they're going to run it back with him next year. Jacoby Brissett, he actually got the offense moving. He looked pretty good. Anything about this Commanders team worry you? I know they have some pieces. They have Terry. Brian Robinson's a good back. Jacoby might be able to do something. How are we feeling about this matchup?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I think that the offense has shown that they are capable of just airing it out. Jacoby Brissett might add a spark to a team that, like, hey, if you're Terry McLaurin, if you're Jahan Dotson, you're looking at it and you're like, all right, well, I have a guy who's actually going to give me the ball. Like, I have a guy who's capable, who we can actually get it done. Let's go out there and do this. Like, no one expects us to do shit against these 49ers. They're banged up. They're dejected. Let's go out there and just put salt in the wound and get after it. And then on the other side, if you're Kyle Shanahan and the 49ers, you just got fucking embarrassed on national TV. you need a win desperately. You can't drop 2 like this. You're fighting for the 1 seed. You need this in the bag. It's literally in your hands if you get the 1 seed or not. You got to continue to win out. So you need to put through a performance. And kind of the best situation, you have a team that you absolutely despise in the Washington Commanders. I know it's new ownership, but I'm sure Kyle still holds that grudge. This is a pride game. You want to just bury the hatchet or bury them and just put everything to bed. And I think this is a good game for the 49ers to do that.
Yeah, I'm expecting Kyle to want to go off on this team, knowing it is one of his former teams that he does not like. I'm thinking bet the overs on everything. Bet the overs for all the 49ers stats. We'll talk about that on the Diamond Pick. We release that every week, so make sure you subscribe, giving you the best 49ers bets. We're looking to bounce back this week. So
Chase Young, revenge game. Do you think he gets a sack?
I think he has to. He's looked good.
He has looked good.
He's been surprisingly really good, and I hope we keep him because I think he makes Bosa happy and he makes Bosa better.
Yeah. I think, again, that's what you needed on the opposite side of Bosa. Again, you don't need a guy that's going to be every down he's going to be in there.
We don't need another Bosa.
No, you just need a guy who on passing downs, you're going to get after it. Then you can switch him out and sub him. But, man, I mean, as far as the 49ers, like, they need without Juwan Jennings, I know is an impact player. But what the fuck, dude?
I'm not going to lie. I think Juwan Jennings had such an impact on this offense last week. Like, he doesn't even catch a lot of balls. He's probably less than 20 catches this year, but they look so confused running out Conley and Willie Snead and rotating them in and out. Like, the offense did look out of it, especially with Ross Dwelly out too. So then you throw another person in that room that's not there, who likes to block, who helps in the run game, who knows where to position themselves in the passing game. And they the offense just looked dejected.
But it's like you shouldn't be that affected by your third wide receiver being out. And it did look like it disrupted the 49ers. Hopefully you get him back this week. But if not, can you actually fucking throw the ball to Conley? Get Willie Snead out of there. There's no reason for
He's already been released.
Yeah, there's no reason for Willie Snead to be on that field. There was no reason whatsoever. Put in Ronnie Bell. I know you have this weird thing where you don't want rookies to play, but fuck it. Throw them out there.
Yeah,
and see
the
what you
fact
got.
that when we have Conley or Willie Snead out there, that's basically a player on the field who's X'd out. Like, they don't have to account for him. They're never going to throw them the ball, and they're not going to be as effective in the run game for blocking. So you're just losing a roster spot. Like, why not try Ronnie Bell, who has shown flashes? Why not Danny Gray? Where's Danny Gray? Why don't even just put a cute Juice out there at receiver? Who cares at this point? If you don't have a third receiver that you can rely on, at least we'll have him out there blocking.
Yeah, so I think this week, just get healthy, figure it out. Let's see what we can do, but you need a win this week.
Yeah, this
Absolutely.
is a terrible team. They're going to tear it down after this year. Ron Rivera's gone. I don't know if they're going to keep their GM. I wouldn't. I don't think he's made great moves. The team has some talent that they can trade for picks and kind of restart their
and they already
roster.
did. They already traded 2 good pieces.
Yeah, but are you going to keep Terry? Are you going to keep Brian Robinson, Antonio Gibson? Logan Thomas is still there. There's some pieces you can kind of flip and keep on rebuilding, but they don't have a quarterback. And so Niners should not be losing to any of these teams who don't have a quarterback.
That's true.
Period, bottom line. So let us know in the comments how you feel about this matchup. Are you guys as sure as us? I think we just want to get right into this Russell Wilson situation. So Russell Wilson, surprisingly, has played pretty well this year. I think 26 touchdowns, only 8 picks.
And he's gotten better through the year.
Mm-hmm.
So he started off bad. Everyone was laughing at them. They get blown out. They give up almost a record. And then from there on, they won a couple games. I mean, not a couple. They won I think 5 games in a row. So they looked good. And I think he was 7th in passing. It looked good.
And we're just going to lay it out there. We're coming from 2 guys who do not like Russell Wilson as a football player. And maybe this person, all this kind of weird running through the airplane, has 12 toilets in his house, odd guy. But I will say, I thought there was going to be a disastrous season for the Broncos, and he's turned it around. But all of a sudden, Russell Wilson has been informed that he's benched for the rest of the year. And at first, Adam Schefter reported that they would have owed him an additional $37 million in March if he could not pass a physical. So this was a move to ensure that he was healthy, so they didn't owe him another almost $40 million next year. But then we get more stuff
coming out about him supposedly after the Kansas City game, the team approached him and were like, hey, you need to restructure your deal or else we're just going to bench you the rest of the time. And apparently Rush was shocked because, again, you just beat the Chiefs. What the fuck are we doing? And both parties got into an argument, and it was left kind of in limbo.
Yeah.
And now cut to today.
Diana Rossini reporting, Wilson has been starting knowing the organization was most likely going to move on from after the season. Russell Wilson is expected to be cut by the Broncos in March. And that comes with, what, an $84 million cap hit? So in dead cap. So what is going on with Sean Payton and the Broncos and Russell Wilson? Because Sean Payton's catching a lot of heat from this. I know RG3 is saying that Russell Wilson's biggest opponent was Sean Payton all season, and that he's done multiple things to try to embarrass Russ. And I think Russ, being such a weird character and was playing terribly, he was kind of like, okay, yeah, he's gonna be the butt of the joke. Everyone's gonna make fun of it. But now that he's looked good, it's kind of flipped the narrative in that people are questioning Sean Payton's motives and his moves.
Yeah, and it's one thing like, okay, if Russell Wilson had continued to play like he did last season, where it just looked bad, just overall looked bad, it was a joke. Hey, you look like you made the worst trade in NFL history. Understandable. Hey, get this guy the fuck out of here. We paid him so much. Let's just make him go away. But when Russell Wilson starts to play good and your team is winning games and you're about to, like, I think just last week they got eliminated from playoffs. So you were in the race. You were in the hunt. If you get a better start, you're there.
You beat Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah. So it's one of those things like you got to, if you're Sean Payton, you got to lean into it. You got to like just roll with it because, hey, we can't have all this dead cap. We should be looking to build up his confidence. And it seems like every time he had a chance, he did make Russell Wilson the scapegoat. He did just like immediately showed his cards and was like, I don't fucking like this guy. Like immediately, like that shit's not going to fly. Like when I got here, we're not doing any, like, you're not going to have your own office. You're not going to do this bullshit. You're just going to take it. And it was just kind of weird to begin with. And it just didn't seem like he let off the gas. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think it was understandable in the beginning. Like, yeah, no, you're going to be with the team. You're going to fall in line basically to what we're doing here. And it worked. But now you're saying you'd rather handicap yourself with the cap space and try to find another decent quarterback than just run it back next year and see what you can do with Russell Wilson in year two. A full year already he has under his belt of your offense that he's put together.
Where he was looking good. Like, I don't get it, dude.
It must be like that. Like, is the relationship that bad, or is maybe Russell been disgruntled behind the scenes? Is Sean Payton just have such a vendetta against him being his quarterback that you're willing to pay him $80 million this offseason just to get rid of him? When, like, why not just, hey, we'll run it back next year. I have a 5-year deal, Sean Payton, so I can do whatever I want, and, like, we can keep building the roster up and then see if we can get another quarterback after this next year. But now you're just going to cut him already?
It doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to me personally. Like, but maybe it has gotten so bad. Maybe it has been like one of those things where it's like, hey, we just can't have a working relationship anymore. We need to just cut this off and maybe move on from there. We'll tank next year, but overall we'll be better for it. But I mean, you know, the cap space is going to be, you're going to be in cap hell for the next 2 years.
When this is the list of what you gave up for Russell Wilson, I don't think you are allowed to cut him off like this and move on. People are saying this is the worst trade in NFL history. So Russell Wilson, you paid $124 million. It's going to be $35 million in cap, dead cap next year, and I think $39 million bonus. $49.6 million in dead cap in 2025. You traded Noah Fant, Drew Lock, who, I mean, he looked pretty good the other game. Shelby Harris, first-round pick turned into Chalcross, second-round pick turned into Boy Mafe, fifth-round pick turned into Tyreek Smith, a first-round pick turned into Devin Witherspoon, and a second-round pick turned into Derek Hall. That's, I mean, a couple of these hit.
Yeah. Well, not even all of them hit. They had 2 starting tackles, and Devin Witherspoon. Like that's a fucking that's
Devin
a win.
Witherspoon looks like a dog. So
Legion of Spoon.
Does Russell Wilson go back to Seattle after this year?
No, I think they're drafting. I
want to see Michael Penix in a Seahawks uniform. That'd be cool. As a 49ers fan, I don't think I hope they get a terrible quarterback, but as just a football fan overall, I think Michael Penix would look good in Seattle.
I mean, I know we kind of had talked about this a little bit earlier. This was kind of before like all the news had come out. I was like, hey, do you think someone is going to trade for Russell Wilson? And you were like, no. But now knowing that he's going to be cut, if they do cut him, teams are going to be interested, right?
Yeah, I was against. I thought there would be no trade options with his contract. You have to give up picks. He's another year older, and you have to pay him. But now that he's going to be a free agent, I think the door is wide open. You could sign him to a 1-year prove-it deal because, yeah, he was looking good, but he didn't look like old Russ, how he was dominant. Look at what Baker Mayfield just did.
Yeah.
So he can definitely get a better deal than Baker, and he can get a sort of 1-year prove-it, or even just like a 3-year Derek Carr type deal. Maybe not as much money as the Derek Carr because that one doesn't look like it's working out. But he can go to a team that's kind of built out and get a 3-year deal. But he goes to like Atlanta or something.
Yeah, that's exactly my thought. I would have traded for something. I would have, if I'm a team that's
the Commanders.
Quarterback. Yeah, I would have traded. Now knowing he's going to get cut, I'm going after him, and I'm going after him hard because look around the league. The guys that are starting, you understand how valuable that is because you see, hey, when guys get hurt, you have these, by all means, they're backups. Tommy DeVito, Nick Mullins, Josh Dobbs, Desmond Ridder, Taylor Heineke. You know that they can go out there and win 1, 2, maybe even 3 games. But realistically, the NFL starters are starters for a reason. And if you have a guy who can win games year in, year out, that's worth a hell of a lot more than a backup who can just kind of catch fire. Sam Howell like had his ups, had his downs. At least he was kind of consistent. I mean, I think with a better OC, he would be better. But realistically, you got to pay top dollar for an NFL starter, like a true starter, and that's what Russell Wilson is. I think he's gonna be heavy in the free agency play.
I mean, if you're a team, most of these teams need a quarterback. I think we could count on our hand how many teams feel settled in their quarterback situation after this season. Look how many backups are playing. Russell Wilson's a guy that even if he isn't playing the best and your team isn't great, he will play a full season for you, and he'll get you to a few wins. Like, I think if you're trying to secure your job for another year, like, bring in Russell Wilson. Like, if you're the Vikings and you're like, hey, if we win 2 games this year, like, we're fucked. Let's bring in Russell Wilson. We know we can win 7. But, like, let's just, be a little positive around here. I think Atlanta, if Arthur Smith somehow survives this offseason,
there's no way.
You have to bring in a known commodity. You have to bring in someone like Russ or someone who will get you 8 wins, 7 wins, 6 wins at least. And that's going to be – quarterback is the number 1 commodity right now, and Russ is kind of at the top of the free agent list. I mean, Tannehill's up there. He's been a starter for years.
But he's over Tannehill.
Yeah.
Hands down. I think he becomes the number 1 quarterback in the free agency.
Yeah, hands down easily. Because what other quarterback is out there who's a consistent starter?
It'd be Kirk Cousins, but Kirk Cousins coming off an Achilles tear.
Baker Mayfield, if they let him leave the building, which
they should not. Yeah, they should be all over. Again, starting quarterbacks, there's literally only about 15 to 17 that are legitimately can play consistent. Other guys, you just you see it throughout the league. Look how many quarterbacks started. There's a reason it's the most important position
But
in the NFL.
Here's the thing with Russ, though. You need to have a good coach who is not going to let him do his bullshit. Like, you need a good coach who's established, who is going to be like, listen, this is our system. You're going to run this fucking system, and you're not going to be over here with team 3. Like,
Well,
that's
also-
what I think Sean Payton did right in the beginning of, like, listen, this isn't team 3 and us. This is us, and team 3 can fucking wait outside.
I don't think you need to be as heavy-handed on it either. I think you just turn it into, like, if you're a positive guy, like, I think Mike McDaniel could, like, if he was on a team that didn't have Tua, a guy like Mike McDaniel could harness that energy and turn it into a positive. I think, like, taking this approach of the authoritarian, I don't think you need to do that.
Yeah, I'm just saying you don't need a coach who's a walkover, who Russ is just going to do the same thing that he did with fucking Hackett.
Yeah, but at the same, like, I think you could make it a positive. Like, hey, we love you, Russ. We want you in the building. We want it. Everything you're doing, great. Let's fucking add to it. Let's make it a team thing. Let's make it like we're all about the team. Rah, rah, rah. Team, team, team.
Like,
I just can't spin that, dude. I don't think you need to be a dick about it.
The coach who is going to be able to, who the team that needs a quarterback, I can't think of the coach right now, who is going to be able to harness that and control it. Maybe Antonio Pierce.
Yeah, Raiders.
That'd be pretty good.
I mean, you have the weapons. You know, you've been around Devontae Adams a long time, seeing them against the Packers, seeing him when he faced now the Raiders for a couple of years. So who knows? Maybe.
Who's the coach that was saying, is he losing the locker room?
LaFleur.
Oh, yeah, like something like LaFleur. Like, what happened there?
Oh, Jair Alexander. He went on the field. He was not a team captain. He's from Charlotte. He was like, fuck it. I'm going and I'm going to be involved in this coin toss. So he goes on with the captains. They win the coin toss and he goes, we want to be on defense. And they're like, do you mean defer? And he was like, I said, we want to be on defense. And his teammates are like, no, we defer. Because it's that weird thing where if you say you want to be on defense and that's your choice, then realistically you have to kick both halves to start both halves.
Yeah, because the other team will get to choose receive, and then they'll choose receive again.
Yeah. So that's the thing. Like, because your choice was to be on defense, they're going to choose to be on offense in the second half. So he was suspended for 1 game for conduct detrimental. And he just seems like an idiot. And watch the interview clip.
After the game where he was like, what are they going to say?
Yeah.
I was like, you're suspended. That's what they're going to say.
Watch the clip. I know it's not supposed to be funny, but it's so fucking funny. Watch the clip.
Yeah, but something like that where it's like, okay, Aaron Rodgers basically ran that locker room with LaFleur there. And then now Jair Brown, one of your best players, is like, I don't give a fuck about this coaching staff. Basically saying, I'm going to do what I want. Russell Wilson should not go to a situation like that where he feels like he can have some leverage and really kind of do what he wants.
Yeah.
It needs to be a stable situation where the coach is like, hey, we'll work together, but you're not running the show here.
Where would you go? Like, what coach
I don't know. I'm saying the Raiders, and now I threw it out there. I'm thinking the Raiders feel pretty good.
That's pretty good.
Even though I think they're going to want to roll with Aiden O'Connell one more time.
Man, if they didn't have that contract, you'd be like, Browns, Stefanski could do this. Like, he could work with – that is like the quarterback that he would like to work with. Like, he knows the offense. He's a West Coast guy. Like, he could run that pretty perfect. But you have that big contract. They're even probably shitting bricks about, what if we make the playoffs and make a deep run with Joe Flacco? What do we do with Joe Flacco then? What kind of contract can we sign him to? Should we sign him back?
And Flacco said he already thinks this is his last ride.
I mean,
I think you try to win 8 games as fast as possible next year and then call Flacco again. Hey, just come finish out the year for us.
Please.
We need a closer. But yeah, let us know what you guys think about Russell Wilson. We kind of went off topic there. We could continue with the Raiders because they beat the Kansas City Chiefs. Crazy stat in that game. I know they won 20-7.
Yeah,
it was 27 for a long time. Aiden O'Connell didn't complete a pass. From his last completed pass was in the first quarter with 2 minutes left, and he didn't complete a pass for the rest of the game.
Yeah, he finished with, I think, 6 completions, 64 yards. And the Raiders got to win.
And the Chiefs could not win that game. And that should tell you how bad this Chiefs offense is right now, where you have a team basically handing you the ball every time. They're like, here, actually, you take it and score. And you can't fucking score.
Instead, you give them points. They had a fumble that went for a touchdown and then an interception that went for a touchdown. I don't know what you do at this point. I just think you chalk it up and you're like, hey, we're going to give it the old college try, but realistically, we just don't have the pieces here. I mean, what do you do?
I guess what you should have done weeks ago is try to bring in a veteran receiver, and at least they might not have been like fast or that amazing, but they bring a little bit of stability. Maybe they'll know like some spacing better. They'll catch the ball actually. Like, what about Jarvis Landry? Like, where's this guy at? Like, couldn't you brought like a guy like him in just to be a safety blanket? Like, I know the Jets have Randall Cobb, but if he was on this team, he would catch a couple of balls.
I mean, he'd be a second coach at least.
Like, I think they needed someone at least they could sign a vet minimum and come in and be a guy that knows how to play NFL football. And I know Rashee Rice is kind of trending upwards, but he's not a number one receiver, and that's what they're relying on him to be.
At least not right now.
Yeah, not yet.
And none of these young guys that you drafted are developing. It is weird. Like, you see the contrast of what's going on in Green Bay, where those guys have come on. They're looking a hell of a lot better than when they started. And then you see this Kansas City Chiefs, and it's almost like they've regressed in some ways. Kadarius Toney just is comical in every sense of the word. He's like just giving up cartoon picks, like
Sky Moore doesn't see the field anymore.
Yeah, it's just weird, dude. I think Travis Kelce also not being.
It's clear he's lost a step.
Yeah, not being all the way to where he was even last year. I think that hurts. I think the injury to Pacheco and Clyde Edwards-Helaire has to step up.
Clyde Edwards clearly not that great.
I mean, he's decent, but he's not the guy. He's not the guy that you thought when you drafted him.
Jarrett McKinnon hasn't had the same season he did last year for you. I think, and sometimes watching this Chiefs team with Pat Mahomes, it feels like they still have the mindset of, hey, we'll just turn it on when we need it. And then they get kind of down or they get close in these games and they can't turn it on.
Yeah, it's almost the same effect of what the Buccaneers went through after they won the Super Bowl with Brady, where it was like, we're the Super Bowl champs. We can do whatever the fuck we want. We'll win when we need to.
I feel like the Chiefs are like, let's just sneak into playoffs and then we'll be good.
Yeah, and that's kind of not how it works. You needed that win. You were trying to fight for a number one seed, which is actually very possible, or it was very possible at the time. Now I think it's out of reach. Now it's like, okay, where are we traveling to? What do we got to do?
But to turn back to the Raiders, another win, and I guess parentheses impressive win because the offense looked terrible. How sure are we that Antonio Pierce is securing this job? Because they did have the huge blowout win. Now they beat the Chiefs. Start off a little rocky, but it feels like Antonio Pierce is kind of steering the ship back in the right direction. I just don't know offensively or just like scheme-wise, like, is he the guy? And is Mark Davis going to trust him? Because, Mark Davis lights a big name. It's like someone flashy. And Antonio Pierce, he's been a good motivator. He's winning the locker room over. But is it going to be the same story as Rick Bisaccia?
I think you've kind of overthought it and got cute. I think you still interview and you see maybe we can land a big fish. Maybe we get Harbaugh. Maybe we get, one of these other Lincoln Riley. Maybe we can get someone that's a big name. But realistically, just don't overthink it. You go with a guy who loves the Raiders, who wants to be the Raiders head coach. And you see right now, like, he just gets the guys. So why not just keep that and move forward with it? You know what I mean? He is like, if you're asking like the Raiders team, what do we want to coach? I'm sure all of them would say qualities that Antonio Pierce has. Former player, understands us, knows what it takes to win games because he's won Super Bowls. So hey, like let's get there. I think next year he's obviously going to have some scheme to him because he's going to be adding his own staff. That's the one thing he knows plenty of guys because he was in the league forever. And so not only does he knows guys that also coached him, but he knows their proteges. He knows other players, and they're like, hey, can you connect me to so-and-so? So I think there's like a lot of people are kind of taking it for granted, but realistically, he can probably put together a really good staff.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. I think unless you can land Harbaugh or Lincoln Riley or like, I mean, maybe Belichick, something in that.
With the Tom Brady connection, with the Tom Brady and ownership.
Yes, unless you're landing a huge name, I think just give him a 3-year deal. Enough with these 5, 6, 7-year deals, Mark Davis. Just give him a 3-year deal and see what happens. I mean, honestly, your team is not in a rebuild and your team's not ready to go. So you're kind of middle of the road. So why not just, hey, we're not bad enough to get a star quarterback. We're not good enough to bring in star players. So let's just ride it out for a few years and see if this guy brings enough juice to turn this thing around. And if he doesn't, no one's going to blame you. No one's going to be like, yeah, that was a bad move. Shouldn't have signed him as your coach.
No, realistically, just like other people will say, you just need an adult in the room. Like realistically, you had before McDaniels, you had a good core. You just needed to improve upon it. But you went for the big swing. You got a couple of guys in there that just shouldn't have been there. And now you just got to make up for that mistake. Hey, let's bring on Antonio Pierce. Let's hire him on just to be the guy. Let's go out and let's swing big for our GM spot. Let's go out and get Adam Peters. Let's go out and get like someone else that is capable and can really help us out as far as this draft. And let's just make the right choices. Let's just improve year over year over the next 3 years. That's it. Let's just start to win some fucking games.
And I think that helps a lot. I trust Antonio Pierce picking defensive players for you a lot more than what they've done in the past. And Max Crosby, he's turning into a top 10 player in the league.
Yeah.
And if you can build – they have like nothing else on that defense. Sorry, Raiders fans. But there's not a lot of talent on that side other than Max Crosby.
Morig looks good.
Yeah.
Jones looks good. But you have a couple of pieces that you can build around.
You can definitely fill out that defense.
But Max Crosby is turning into a superstar. Like now that you have had a couple of wins like in key spots, he's starting to get more and more and more star power. And what you got to do is just harness that, build around it, make him a key guy. And just, you got to get wins. You got to get on primetime. You got to get wins. You got to make Vegas a fucking cool spot because you can't have it be a road game every time you're at home. You're such a disadvantage.
If Aiden O'Connell's going to be your guy next year, get more weapons on offense, build out your line. And this division is winnable right now. Like the Chiefs, they're going to need to find a way to maneuver their cap how they do and get a wide receiving core. Not just a wide receiver. They need a whole fucking wide receiving core. And they need to do it in a way that keeps this as much of their defense together or improves their defense. And it's just a tough road for them to figure that out, especially if Travis Kelce continues a decline. Then you're really in trouble with Mahomes there. The Chargers are not good right now.
No.
Who knows what's going to happen with the Chargers?
This is actually a perfect time for the Raiders. You get Antonio Pierce. The fucking Chargers fell apart. Brandon Staley got cooked.
Broncos should regress with no Russell Wilson.
They have no cap.
And who's going to be their quarterback?
And the Chiefs look like they're on the downturn.
Mm-hmm.
So you can capitalize on that. Just get better. Just win the fucking offseason. That's it. Just win the offseason, and I'm sure games will come. You know what I mean?
All right, another team that's on the downturn right now, the Jacksonville Jaguars. Trevor Lawrence. Everyone, I feel like I don't see anyone bashing Trevor Lawrence ever, but I think we're going to declare this is the Trevor Lawrence hater pod. Are we starting the club?
I mean, I think I've seen more and more like, hey, this guy wasn't as advertised. What are we doing here? I mean,
he was, put on a pedestal of like, this guy is going to be one of the best quarterbacks ever.
Yeah.
And I'll just throw out, I seen someone screenshot this on Monday. First 48 career starts, Trevor Lawrence versus Daniel Jones look identical. Their passer rating, 85.5, 85.4. touchdown interceptions, 55-35, 55-33. Their yards combined, 12. Trevor Lawrence has 12,200. Daniel Jones has 12,000. And win-loss, Trevor Lawrence 20-28, Daniel Jones 19-29. So I've seen people trying to argue for like, oh, well, Daniel Jones had better teams. Trevor Lawrence went through a year at Urban Meyer. Daniel Jones had Joe Judge for 2 years, and he's had one of the worst receiving corps ever for his whole career.
Yeah. So
I think I like the quote. I don't remember who said it, but one of the announcers was saying, I'm starting to question if the Giants have good receivers or I just know all their names. Because you know who like Wan'Dale Robinson is and like Darius Slayton, you know their names and they should be good, but they just look so terrible all the time. And we just saw Trevor Lawrence, he throws a lot of picks and they're not really cashing in his wins. Both these guys have playoff wins too. So how different are these guys?
I don't know, like one thing that starts to creep up in my mind, and I'm sure it's going to start to creep up in the offseason, is the quotes pre-draft about Trevor Lawrence where he's like, football's not my entire life. Like, I really don't define myself as a football player. And it's like you have other guys like Jalen Hurts who football is his entire fucking life. He faced adversity and he was like, no, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to get fucking better. You want me to switch to a running back or wide receiver? I'm not fucking doing that. I'm going to improve and I'm going to be an NFL quarterback. And then you have guys like Trevor Lawrence who's like, yeah, I can take it or leave it. It's whatever. And I have other interests. And it's like, dude, you should be improving year to year. And it just seems like he's hit his ceiling and that's where he stayed, and everyone was expecting a huge improvement for this Jaguars team this year. You brought in a bunch of weapons. You got Calvin Ridley, Christian Kirk, Travis Etienne. You were supposed to really kind of take that next step. You have a Super Bowl winning head coach, and it just kind of fizzled out. And it's like, are you really the guy? Like you need, like someone needs to do a dog transplant in Trevor Lawrence. Take his like Tommy DeVito's dog and put it into Trevor Lawrence, and that would be like the perfect football player, right? And someone who has like that moxie, but also that extreme talent and all the tools and everything that you need. That would be unstoppable, but you just don't have that.
It's very like the Justin Herbert story for me. Like everyone's ready to crown him as top 3 quarterback, top 5 best quarterback in the league. And I'm just kind of sitting there like looking around like, am I the only one that's like, hey, what have you done for me? Yeah, Trevor Lawrence won a playoff game. Like, cool. But you're losing you're getting worse every week. This team is looking terrible. And you have the Colts and the Texans on your ass. The Colts are on their backup quarterback.
Yeah.
The Texans, CJ Stroud's been hurt for a few weeks now.
Yeah.
Like, how have you not ran away with this division? The Titans, they're on their 3rd quarterback. Like, what is going on that Trevor Lawrence, who's like, everyone is like, yeah, he's one of the most talented quarterbacks ever.
Generational talent.
And he's just not pulling away from this division that's like pretty mediocre. Like, yeah, the Colts are overachieving. The Texans are looking good with CJ Stroud. But realistically, the Jags should be way better than these teams.
Yeah.
And they're just not.
Yeah. I mean, you got to have a serious talk with them in the offseason. Like, hey, I don't know what needs to improve or what you need, but we will take you to a coach. We will make sure that you get everything that you like any resource that you need. It's all taken care of, but we need you to put in the work. We need you to continue to do this. Like, I don't know who needs to have that because I'm sure Doug Peterson has had that talk with him this season. Like, hey, what is it? But also, he banged up a good portion of this year. That's not great. That's not, I mean, well, and then he had that injury where it looked like a season ender, where he like threw his helmet and was like, and then refused to take the cart. But I don't know if that's an excuse or if that's like still lingering or what.
Well, I mean, you guys let us know in the comments. Are you guys also joining the Trevor Lawrence hater club, or you guys still believe in the guy? Because I don't know. I don't see it anymore, really. I see the talent, but I don't see how he's really putting it all together. We just want to wrap up here with the Rams. The Rams have been winning games. They've been winning ball games. Puka Nacua over there breaking records. Cooper Kupp is a former record breaker. He's back. Their running back, Kyron Williams, looking amazing. He's looking like a top 10 back. Matthew Stafford, obviously.
Hall of Famer?
This might be, he's starting to put the resume together. He's starting, especially now that this team consistently, we want to say, has been, they're done. They're out. They're done. Time to rebuild it. And they just keep coming back. And now they look scarier than ever. Are the Rams the most scary playoff matchup in the NFC right now?
I don't think they're the most scary. Obviously, the 49ers would be pretty fucking scary. But this is a team that's hot. And they believe. Like, I listened to his Matthew Stafford's speech after that Thursday night game. And he was just like, hey, you know what? This feels a lot like it did when we won the Super Bowl. Like, just guys, 100% buying in, believing, wanting to do anything and everything for the team. And so it's different because, hey, we had a lot of vets and it was kind of like a league of assassins. But and this time it's a lot of young guys and this is their first time around. But it's kind of a little bit better because you can just tell them, hey, I've been here. I've done it. This is what you need to do. And they're like, yes, we'll do it. And so it's like, okay, like everyone's just bought in. And you got to give it to McVay, dude. Like, I was ready to write it off because you hear the talks of he's going to retire. He's not – how into it is he really? But he's a dude who fucking loves football. And I can see why he is getting burnt out because he's pouring his all into it. He's putting in mad work, and it's showing on the field. These guys don't have a lot of star power on defense, but the defense looks awesome. I think Raheem Morris,
he's going to get some head coach calls.
Should get a head coaching job. He's been awesome for the last few years. He's completely switched around his defense. He's like, hey, when he came to Los Angeles, you guys run this scheme. It works good. I'm going to switch my style to fit this. And it's like, bro, he should 100% get a head coaching job. But yeah, this team just believes. And they're sneaky, like they're good. If you have Matthew Stafford healthy, which he is right now 100%, you have a fighting chance in any matchup.
The end of last year, I was kind of saying I think they messed up letting Baker walk, but they couldn't really afford to keep him. But now, man, Matthew Stafford is playing at a high level, and I think they found a gem in Kyron Williams. Like, this guy just turned into a star back. And Puka Nacua, I don't know about the stats of him versus the top receivers in the league, but he's a number one receiver if you just watch him play. Like, this guy, to me, already looks like a top 5 receiver in the league.
Yeah, you watch him and you're like, damn, I want that on my team.
He's big, he's strong, he's fast, he can run all the routes.
Tough, dude.
He's really good at the football. And this offense is just looking explosive again. And combine that with the defense looking dynamic and making plays, I'm worried about the 49ers facing this Rams team now. Because this is a completely different Rams team than we've seen in the beginning of the year. All the beginning of the year, I was like, yeah, they might win 6 games. But they just continue to improve, and they're getting better.
Yeah, they look good, dude. They're hot right now, and you understand why they were just like, we need McVay back. We need Stafford back. I know there was the rumors of them trying to trade Stafford. I think it was more teams calling about Stafford.
They could definitely win a Super Bowl. They could definitely win the Super Bowl this year, I think.
I think they would beat the Eagles. If we're being honest, I think they beat the Eagles. I think they would beat the Cowboys.
You don't think they could beat the Niners?
I have to see it. We're going to see it the last week. In 2 weeks,
if the Niners have an off day, yeah, they could beat the Niners. I think this Rams team can win the Super Bowl. I think, for me, they're the most scary team to go against in the NFC playoffs right now.
What about the Bills? Or in the NFC?
In the NFC.
I thought it was in the NFL.
The Bills, they could be garbage or they could be amazing. And then you got the Dolphins, who are like, if you just give up 4 plays, you play good all game, and you give up 4 plays, they put up 28.
Yeah.
So they're also, I don't like the talk of them being frauds.
Fugazi.
Yeah, they don't deserve as much as the Cowboys, but let us know in the comments how you feel about the Rams. Are they a good playoff matchup? Would you want to face them or the Niners? We're going to wrap up today's show with the Deep Dig Disco, short for Discovery, where we talk about every week what we discovered that wasn't sports related. Could be a show, could be a movie, could be music, anything, literally anything that's not sports.
Yes, and of course we are sports guys through and through. But obviously we have to consume other content just based off of how there's 24 hours in a day, buddy. So my deep dig disco this week is actually a podcast that is a little close to home. So we live in the Central Valley, or I live in the Central Valley, you live up north, but it's called the Bakersfield 3. And so this is a true crime podcast that digs into a pretty crazy case. It's involving 2 missing persons and 1 murder. And the reporter digging into it was from Channel 17 News. Her name is Olivia Lavoie, and she digs into, first off, one missing persons case leads into another missing persons case, then leads into the murder case, and she tries to figure out how all 3 friends got into this predicament and who did the actual crimes and what's going on here. It's really awesome. It's on all streaming platforms. It's called the Bakersfield 3. I would highly recommend if you're someone who's interested in true crime. It's a case that has a bunch of twists and turns, and you just really kind of feel for both the families, everyone involved, and what's going on. And it's just really, really good. So I would highly suggest it.
Yeah, mine's way less dark, way more fun and upbeat. My disco this week is the TV show Scott Pilgrim Takes Off. I just finished it. I think it's really good. I mean, it's a great animated show. If you love Scott Pilgrim versus the World, the live action movie, you're going to love this show. It's a completely different take on it. It follows a lot more of the side characters. Obviously, Michael Cera is underrated as a voice actor. I mean, just go and watch him as Robin and Lego Batman. But yeah, he kills it in this. The rest of the cast is great. I really like Kieran Culkin's performance throughout the season. And it's a weird show. It's a fun show. It's definitely feel good, happy-go-lucky. But the animation is amazing. There's some cool fights. A lot of comedy in there, so definitely go check it out. The whole cast from the movie comes back to do the voice work. So.
Damn.
And then they added in some people like, what's his name from Shaun of the Dead?
Simon Pegg.
Simon Pegg, he's in there. Nick Frost. So they definitely have some cameos. So go and check it out. It's a quick watch. Could probably watch it in a weekend.
Where's it streaming?
Netflix.
Oh, okay.
And I think they leave it open for a season 2, but I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, definitely go check it out.
Yep. So that's all for this week. Thanks so much for checking it out. Be sure to hit that like button. Be sure to drop some comments below. And make sure you subscribe. Later.
See you.